Behind me here is Punta Lima Wind Farm, and this was completely destroyed in Hurricane Maria a few years ago down here in Puerto Rico. Manfrotto wanted to sponsor a video where I filmed some sort of video using a bunch of their stabilizers, and so today, this is what I'm going to be filming. Okay, let's start with the finished product. Here's the video I came up with. As I mentioned earlier, today's video is sponsored by Manfrotto, and I'm going to be using 3 different stabilizers by Manfrotto to create this video, starting with the 645 Fast tripod that recently came out. This tripod has a really interesting design. Instead of having 2 or 3 different clamps on each leg, there's now just 1 on each leg. So I'm going to set this on the ground here and unlock each one of these. And now I can just raise this up, set the height that I want, and then lock them back down. Or I can just raise this all the way up and lock each one, and the tripod is ready to go. Now, if you like that fast unlocking technology, but you want a tripod that's a little bit smaller, check out the 635. This tripod looks totally different, but it's similar in the sense that you turn one thing and it opens the leg from this side and it opens it from this side. So every other twist leg tripod that I've ever used has 3 different ones. This one has a single one. On top, we've got a standard bowl, which helps you level out your camera. And on top of that, we've got a 608 fluid tripod head. And sitting on top of that, currently I have a Canon R5 and their 24-70. I'm also going to be shooting with their 70-200 as well. This camera is probably the current time-lapse king, simply because it can shoot 8K video natively. So we're gonna be using this as well as my Sony a7S III for a few of these shots. I'm currently being recorded on it. And we're going a different route with that camera because I'm using a much cheaper lens, the Tamron 28-200 millimeter lens. Now, normally I only like shooting with lenses that have a fixed 2.8 aperture that gives you that beautiful shallow depth of field. But for a video like this where I don't want shallow depth of field, having an all-in-one lens like this is awesome. It's way more affordable and it's much more convenient as well. Now there's 3 main ways to make a time-lapse video. One is the most professional way, and it's very difficult, and that is to shoot raw files in succession, hundreds or thousands of them, edit each one of those raw files, run it through software like LR Timelapse to deflicker everything, take those files, move them into software like Adobe Premiere or After Effects, combine them all together, and you have a video. The problem with doing it that way is that the file sizes are absolutely massive. And if you want the best quality possible, yes, do it that way, but I think that you might get 5% better looking footage and you're doing 1,000% more work. For me, it's not personally worth it. Now, many cameras today have some sort of video time-lapse feature where they can build time lapses in the camera themselves. And if your camera has a feature like that, it makes things so much easier. The Canon R5 does have this feature. It gives you the option to do multi-second long exposures, and if you're shooting at night or you need a really long exposure to blur motion, this is a great option. Now, there's one other way to create a time lapse, and it happens to be the easiest way possible, and that is to just shoot video and then speed it up when you get into Adobe Premiere. Now, I don't always recommend this method. It really depends on what you're going to be filming. If you're shooting a subject that has a lot of motion, I think you should shoot with the time-lapse feature, a multi-second exposure, and to get that multi-second exposure, you may have to use some sort of neutral density filter on the front of your lens to darken up the scene and give you a 2-second exposure in many cases. However, for this video, I'm shooting almost exclusively moving clouds. They're not moving quickly at all. My camera's remaining stationary in one spot, and for that reason, it works perfectly just to shoot standard video and speed it up after the fact. So I take the footage into Adobe Premiere, I play with the playback speed to get that perfect, nice, smooth motion of the clouds. I then right click and nest it, drop warp stabilizer on the clip, I analyze it, set it to no motion, and once I have everything stabilized, I then add keyframes to set an end and an out point, and then I can add a pan, a tilt, or a zoom in or zoom out to make the shot a little bit more interesting. Now, I didn't want every shot to be a time lapse. I did want some slow-mo footage as well. So I grabbed my A7S III, I set it to 120 frames per second. I put it on the Manfrotto 460 gimbal, and I was able to get some slight motion from side to side and up and down, just to give a little bit of movement and create these shots that were the exact opposite of the time-lapse shots. Super slow motion mixed with that nice smooth motion of the clouds in those time lapses. For a couple of the shots, I wanted a different vantage point and I wanted a little bit more movement, so I attached the Manfrotto Gimboom to the bottom of my gimbal, and that gave me a little bit more reach and options for these nice jib moves. So I'm pretty happy with the way the video's turned out so far. I think to really finish it, I probably want some drone shots in there. I don't currently own a drone. I sold my drone expecting DJI to be announcing their newest, hottest one soon, and then they didn't. But maybe when they do, I can review that drone around the same area, get some cool shots of these windmills, and maybe I can mix it together for an even better video. For more free content just like this, head over to fstoppers.com and check out fstoppers.com/store. At the moment, every single Fstoppers tutorial is currently on sale. Check it out at fstoppers.com/store. See you next time.